Marjot and I were sleeping. It was raining outside. We could hear the patter on the roof. A little crabby about the person we'd sent on their way. I'd been soaking wet when I went to bed and still was. Wasn't the ideal situation. Marjot got up and started picking up the corn. We had so much corn around here, it was insane. The rain slowed down a little bit, and we decided we better get working here. See if we could get some kind of proper defenses built up. Wild man was wandering around. Marjot headed down that way, picking up steel slag that was laying about. And I was running around, doing work around the place. Decided to stop and have a beer, do some cleaning as well. Marjot decided to do a little bit of research and then backed off. There was so much steel to smelt laying around, and we were going to do so much building, which I got going on. We'd need the steel. We were going to build a whole mess of guns, sandbags as well. So that was going to be the next focus. Get some walls going, get some guns going. We were trying to hurry before the aliens came back and tried to eat us. Marjot was making steel. She was sick of looking at that steel pile, so she stayed focused on that for a little while. I had to build some bridges over the mud so I could put the walls up. Marjot really wanted to get back to research. We needed to get a couple mortars here. Transport pod crashed nearby. Some hostile fella, mad as it gets. Could hear him cursing despite his situation. What he should have been was been nice. We would have brought him in, tried to save him. Since he wanted to be a jerk, we left him laying. He even took his clothes. I had to find a way to get those things sold. We were out of space to put stuff for the minute. Decided we'd probably put another shelf in so we could store our beer on a shelf. We should work out just fine. Marjot was sleeping, and I joined her. We had some fun that night. The bedroom was pretty messy, but neither of us cared too much at the minute. We could take care of that tomorrow. Marjot got up first. She decided to build the shelf right away. We got notification that a bulk goods trader was passing by. We sold a bunch of food, material. We bought all the steel we could afford. Bought some plasteel, advanced components as well. We had other stuff we were going to sell. We just had to get our trade beacon moved. Another trader came by as well. I decided to bring this fella's clothes in. We could sell those right away to that first trader I'd talked to. So I decided to run back over there, give them a call, and sell what extra stuff I just brought in. Like I said, we were going to have to move that trade beacon. It was a bit of a hassle, but we'd get there. I called up the pirate merchant to see what they had to offer. And they had some advanced components as well. So we scored a ton of steel. Advanced components, plasteel, even nabbed some silver. Not a lot though, we were running low. Turns out plasteel's pretty expensive. Marjot finally got around to moving the trade beacon. We had to get it powered yet though. We didn't have power running in that direction. So Marjot took care of that, and then I made the call. There was just a handful of other things to sell. Some textiles. A few other odds and ends. We had some guns, but no one was interested. Squirrel had died on our traps. It's the poor little guy that had been wandering around our little area here next to our home. I decided to take a break, toss some horseshoes. Marjot was bringing in that squirrel. We had stuff laying everywhere. Steel, mostly. Plasteel as well, though. Someone contacted us saying they were being chased. We decided not to get involved. I stayed focused on building the walls. Marjot stayed focused on doing the smelting. And there was a ton of work to do. We were going to burn through the sandstone first and get on to the rest of the stone. Marjot hit the hay about 11 o'clock, and I followed around midnight. Neither of us having too much to complain about. Another wild man wandered in. Now there were two of those fellas nearby. Another trader showed up. I'd have to call him up in the morning. Marjot got up first, had herself a meal. And then I got up and made the phone call. We bought some plasteel. Sold a bunch of packaged survival meals. It's pretty much a one-to-one trade on those. I feel like we're getting the shaft. But we need the plasteel, and we have tons of material to make food. So I wasn't going to sweat it too much. I made a few more packaged survival meals, and I decided to get back to construction. I'd like to get the nearby silver mine as well when I had a chance. I chilled out for a bit, had a snack, and then got back to the business. Building. We ended up finding some nearby silver. I was going to have to run on over and get that. I felt a pleasant feeling settle over me sometime before bed, and that was nice. It's good to have something positive going on around here. Our security structure was coming along. There was a ton of plants growing in there I was going to have to cut out, but for now I just kept working on the walls. Marjot decided she was going to tame a few more muffalo. If I was going to have to make a run out, get some plasteel, we'd need a few of those. So she started working with them. We were going to have to be careful where we let them go. We didn't want them stepping on a trap. And since they're not the smartest of creatures, we delineated a path for them. Well, they're smart enough to pay attention to that and not go where we don't want them. So that's good. We chilled out, watched some TV, chatted a bit, had a good time. I'd butchered up that squirrel, but we didn't have any room for the meat in the freezer, so we put it in the regular storage, and it didn't last too long. Gonna have to do something about that. I was thinking about cooking up a ton of meals, but I was gonna wait till we had all of our construction done. So many plants that needed to come down as well. I was gonna have my hands full for a while here. I did some cleaning, so did Marjot. I got to the business of cooking. We needed a ton of meals. Marjot went back to smelting for a little bit, and then we hit the hay. I was feeling great. Marjot was a little bit crabby, but nothing to complain about. We had some fun that night once again. Keep ourselves happy and spry. And Marjot kept right on smelting. She was making quite a mess doing that in there. So far so good. She decided to get back out and work with those wild muffalo again. See if she convinced one to join up with us. And she succeeded. We now had 2 pet muffalo. Seemed like this construction project was never going to end. Marjot chilled out for a bit. And then she tamed another muffalo. That gave us 3, and we both felt like that was plenty. Another trader came by about that time. Seems like when it rains it pours. They just keep showing up. So we bought some advanced components. Sold some cloth and other odds and ends we had about. And then I had to move trade beacon again, so they could actually see our money. That was so I could get as much plasteel as possible. Which of course I forgot to do in the selling of the other junk we had about. But I corrected it before too long. Bought a bunch more of those and wiped out our silver supply. I was still working on the walls. Both those wild men had stepped on our traps, and Marjot was unaware. I felt extremely overwhelmed at the minute. I tried to talk to one of them, but he was just shouting gibberish. In the end, I decided to try and ignore it. But I did feel pretty bad for what I was having to do to those fellas. I wasn't going to tell Marjot for the minute. She'd rescue him, bring him in, and give us some more work to do around here. We certainly had our hands full. Marjot hit the hay. Nothing more than the usual to complain about. And I did the same. Feeling pretty bad for having watched those guys die. But if they're not smart enough to avoid those traps, it is what it is. Marjot carried the bodies out the next day. I feigned ignorance, pretending I didn't know how they'd gotten there. Those fellas are going to have to get a little more spry. Well, I guess not in this lifetime. Marjot hauled the body. I kept working on the construction. There was still no end of stuff to do. Marjot went back to smelting for a bit. And a weird part of a ship fell nearby. From past experience, we knew we were going to have to get out there and deal with that. If we let it sit, we'd get all that weird fungus growing, and then we'd get another big group of aliens showing up from nowhere. So out we went. I gave it the business. A bunch of aliens popped out of it, of course. Some big freaky ones we didn't usually see. Even a few different kinds of face huggers. So we ran like hell to get back inside, and we whistled for the animals to get them in too. Sadly, one of them wasn't very close. They might not make it. But we did the best we could for getting in. One of the muffalo kept walking over trees, slowing itself down. Stupid thing. But gave us time to get away. So I guess that's alright. We made it inside, right about the time the aliens got a hold of the muffalo. And they went to town on it, giving it the business. One of the aliens died on our traps, one of the smaller ones. And the aliens kept on attacking that muffalo. When it went down, one of the face huggers jumped on it. We were going to have to deal with that before something bad came out of the situation. And the aliens mostly died on the traps. We ran down, see if we could kill the one with the kill the face hugger that was attacking our muffalo. There were still a few live aliens over there just waiting. So we were biding our time, trying to figure out what to do. As soon as we opened the door, however, a whole lot of them came at us. And since the door was open, they got in. They got a hold of Marjot. Her having been the first one to run out there. The big freaky alien spitting on her, hitting her with its tail, beating her up pretty good, but the guns are going nuts. One of the guns ended up shooting Marjot. She was pretty beat up, but she was still walking. So I decided to go deal with the face hugger. She decided, mad as she was after that firefight, go down and take out one of the aliens that hadn't died but had gone down on a trap. So I ran on outside, gun ready, started blasting the poor muffalo with the face hugger attached to it. And I killed the muffalo. That made the face hugger come loose. Marjot started shooting at the thing. When we came inside, she shot at it, so did our gun. The gun got a hold of me as well. I decided I was going to deal with the damage for the minute and go out and destroy the ship before we got any of that mold fungus stuff growing around. And we were going to have to bring that muffalo in as well. So I went outside and destroyed the ship. Took a fair amount of shooting, in all honesty. Marjot sat down and chilled out for a while. She was feeling the stress of the battle. I was out there shooting in the rain. There was lightning strikes and all that. When I got done, I had a meal right away, being that I was starving, and I grabbed some of the more important items that had come out of that ship. We had a bunch of these caskets laying about. I think we were going to crack into those and try and disassemble them. We had no idea what was in them, nor did we really want to know, being that they're probably impregnated with aliens. I was hauling stuff around. got Marjot tended. I got myself tended. And with all the excitement, we were both a little riled up, so we had some fun that night. Then we went to sleep. Fire had started outside due to the storm, and it was taking down a bunch of the plants that I was going to need to deal with, so we decided to let it burn for a while. Might not be the best play, because the buffalo might get themselves caught on fire. We'll see how it goes. Some alpaca had joined us at some point. Just wandered in out of the blue. We decided we were going to slaughter them. I chilled out and had a beer. Marjot came down with an infection, so I was tossing horseshoes. Decided I'd better tend her as soon as I could. Certainly didn't want her getting too sick. Didn't want her dying again. We didn't have a way to bring her back to life, and we got lucky the last time. I did some butchering, some cargo pods fell nearby, and I planned on doing a bunch of cleaning. Or Marjot was going to. Save me the trouble. Some food had fallen nearby, along with a bunch of additional slag, so we were going to have to get to that. We had fires raging, buffalo getting themselves caught on fire. Our doors were on fire, doors I had just built, in solid steel. It's incredible to see something like that burning, but I saw it. I went and put the fire out. More cargo pods fell nearby. This time it was a bunch of beans. There was a creepy dead alien down there by him, but it was obviously well dead, so we didn't worry about it. Our animals came down with the flu about that time. Our buffalo is fully healed from its injuries, no doubt from the fire burns that it had taken. Marjot was hauling off the dead aliens. I was rebuilding the traps. Some of the fruit trees were burning, and I wanted to harvest them just for some variety. One of the buffalo got itself caught on fire, so I had to put the buffalo out before I could deal with the fruit trees. And Marjot still working on hauling dead aliens out of the trap area. She decided she was going to tame another buffalo, and we were off to bed. She was feeling pretty stinking rough, but I didn't have anything to complain about. She got right back to the business of hauling dead aliens when she got out of bed, though. She's tough as it gets, man. She was hauling those things to a farther point now that we'd extended out our walls. We had a conversation about where we should put those dead critters. I built some roofs, and then we both chilled out together, watched some TV, had a conversation about acrobats, of all things. Marjot had left some corn in the bed. I made a note to grab that. She's still pretty well wounded, so I didn't give her any grief about it. I had myself a meal. A big chunk of spacecraft fell right nearby. Marjot was off to bed early that night, being that she was injured and had the infection going. She was getting tired sooner. And I worked on building up the traps and such. Decided to run on out, deconstruct that ship chunk. More steel, more components certainly wouldn't hurt. Marjot was having a meal, and she got back to work as I went to bed. And she joined me again before too long. She was still feeling pretty rough, but she was beating the infection. Super close to having immunity. She'd be recovering just fine. She was almost fully healed finally. Some visitors showed up about that time, just walking on by. They didn't have anything to trade. They were just checking out what was going on. So we chatted a bit, but that was it. Another chunk of spacecraft fell down to the south, and I made a note to go deconstruct that. Marjot was running down, pick up all the beans that had fallen before. They'd been rained on and were wet, but they'd still turn out okay if I cooked them up. The buffalo had the flu yet, and we were dealing with that. And I was working on building walls. Marjot was dropping off all the slag she was bringing in, and she hit the hay about 11 p.m. She is recovering now fully healed, even from the infection, so that was great. She got up, had herself a meal. Nothing like a 7 a.m. beer either. Marjot finally got around to putting down the alpaca that had been wandering around here. I decided I was going to have to cook for a bit. The hops were due so I could make a bunch more beer. So I worked on that for a little while. Decided to go harvest all the hops. Marjot was working on taming another muffalo since one of them had died, and she was successful once again. 3's our limit at the minute, so she put that task aside. After the hops were harvested, I got to the business of making up the wort. Be nice to have a bunch more beer. Marjot kept on smelting. She was hoping to get through all that steel, but there was still quite a bit of it around. While I made the beer, what would eventually become the beer. And we had all the fermenting barrels full, so I called it quits on that job. Though there were extra hops, I hadn't planted any more. Decided it was time to cook up a bunch of food. And then I hit the hay. Marjot joined me. It was about 11 p.m. I was feeling pretty good with nothing to complain about. Marjot was still crabby about how nice her bedroom was, but she is the one that wanted this big fancy house. So go figure that one. And then I had a ton of meals to cook up. There was stuff laying everywhere. I had to find places to put everything. But I managed it. Then I started making some fine meals. Marjot kept on smelting. At some point I'll just make 1,000 meals. We'll call it good. Hopefully by then we're out of here. I focused on making fine meals for a while till it was time to chill out, watch some TV. News around here is never good. This whole alien thing. People weren't sure if it was viral or what. Trying to get people to stay inside, not go hang out with other people or something. I don't think that's gonna help though. Not with this alien infestation. I butchered up the alpaca, sat down and had a meal. Marjot kept on smelting away. I had made a ton of meals, and we had some alpaca hide laying about as well, so I got that dealt with. Marjot had quite a pile of steel going on around her, and I finally got around to doing a little mining on that silver we've been hoping for. Before bringing a bunch of stuff in and hitting the hay, Marjot was already in bed, and we were both feeling as good as we could. Some person showed up about that time, a woman who wanted to join us. We didn't have any space, we didn't have any time to deal with this. Seems like she got the picture, took her clothing and her knife and buggered off. And we were a little sad about the fact that she didn't stay. But we have to stay focused on our goal if we're ever going to make it here. I finished mining all the silver, brought it all in. Hopefully we could get another trade ship, buy some more plasteel. Save me a trip out, much as I wouldn't mind checking out another city. Certainly wasn't going to get us off this planet if I was wandering around. I was chilling out. Marjot got to constructing. She decided she was sick of sitting around. I was cutting down plants as well. They were everywhere. We planned a whole slew of guns, some more walls, all kinds of stuff. We got a contact from somebody saying their whole faction was angry at us all of a sudden. We hadn't done anything to cause it, so we don't really know what it was about, but we decided that we didn't really care so much. About midnight, we both went to bed once again, feeling crabby about that woman that had left. Chunk of spacecraft fell right nearby, and we were still thinking about cracking into those cryptosleep caskets, but for now, we were going to let them be. There was stuff to be hauled, walls to be built, sandbags, guns. Marjot had to work with the animals too. And she'd been milking the things everywhere, just leaving the milk laying about, so she ran out and grabbed some of that. And then she decided to take a walk around, just check the place out a bit. Meanwhile, I was hauling supplies out for doing these guns, getting them built up. We had a whole slew of them planned. Well, hopefully it would turn out for us. I decided to chill out, watch the moon. This giant thrumbos showed up. We decided to let them be, since we had tons of meat. Didn't really need the horns or the fur. They could just be peaceful. We could be peaceful. Everybody'd be alright. We went to bed, both of us a little bit crabby. Next day, got up and had meals. Got back to work. We tore down part of our roof. Decided we didn't want a roof where I built it. And then we started making guns. We were making good progress between the sandbags and the guns. And I hit the hay about midnight. Haven't worked all day building. Marjot had done the same, but she stayed up a little later. She was feeling pretty frisky that night. And we had some fun. We were going to have to do some cleaning in the morning, so I made a mental note of that. And I got up and took care of it. Had myself a meal, ate some chocolate. The animals got sick again. I don't know what it is with these animals around here getting the flu, but it's getting to be a little frustrating. Marjot got up around 11 and had herself a beer. And we had a lot of building to do, so we got on top of that. We were getting close to being done, though. Fortunately, we'd been left alone throughout this building process, except for that one ship part that had come down. And at least those give us some usable supplies. We both hit the hay once again, right around midnight. Getting close to our goal. We had some fun that night once again. Some Labrador retrievers showed up. They was barking and yipping, friendly as a lab can be. So we welcomed them in for now. We'd have to figure out how to feed them. And if somebody came along looking to buy them, we'd certainly sell them. I decided to take a walk around and just chill out. There was a lot of steel to be hauled. Marjot had been smelting a lot. An exotic goods trader showed up about that time, on foot for once. Well, it was nice to see some different people, so I ran on out to talk to him. And we sold all kinds of stuff, random drugs we captured, teas, stuff like that. Bought some of the stuff we needed. Marjot was chilling out with the chocolate and the TV. And then she decided to take all the beer out of the fermenting barrel since it was ready. She also had to deal with the muffalo. They need constant milking and shearing and training. I was in bed. It was 11 o'clock. And Marjot joined me by midnight. Both of us a little crabby about that woman that had left still, but not too bad. We put some meat out for the dogs, and they were after it right away, being that they were hungry. We also decided to build some roofs over our guns. We had a few walls to build, but we were getting super close to our goal, having a legitimate security box with a fallback zone. Hopefully, if anything got to us, we could do them in. I broke apart a ship chunk and brought in the supplies. There was one gun left to build, and then we'd have them all finished. We were also getting quite the stash, plasteel, so pretty soon I could lay out my ship plans per Marjot's direction. That muffalo with the flu was down and out, and I had some walls to repair from the last alien incursion. And 11 p.m., I hit the hay. Marjot followed at midnight once again. And the dogs and the muffalo were asleep as well. Next day, it was right back to work. The last gun had been built. Our structure was looking pretty solid. Pretty freaking scary, in fact. If anybody showed up and didn't know what to expect, they'd be getting the business. Marjot was tossing horseshoes, and I was working on the exterior wall. We were running a little bit out of block. We used up all the sandstone that we had that that was enough to build a wall. And we got to the granite walls on the outside. There's a bunch of trees I was gonna have to take out yet. And we were working next to each other, having a little chit chat, which was nice. I kept working. Marjot went back inside. We had a conversation about short people, which seems like an odd thing to talk about, but when you're together all the time, you gotta come up with something. I went to bed about midnight, only a little bit crabby. Marjot joined me shortly after. She was soaking wet. But if that's our biggest complaint, well, we made some real security. We're feeling good about that. Things were looking up. Wouldn't be long. We could start that ship, get off this planet. Perhaps get into these caskets first and see what we can find. At least some more steel, maybe. Some uranium for sure. So that was on our minds as we were sleeping the night away.